Hey guys, and welcome to another recent viewing video. And this time around, the night before last, I sat down and watched Deadpool, a movie that I had been pretty much eagerly awaiting a chance to watch. I wanted to see it in theaters when it came out. I was very, very close to doing so, but I ended up in the end waiting until its eventual release on video, which, amazingly enough, was about a month sooner than I expected it. Working in retail, I expect movies to take 4 to 5 months to go from when they start in theaters to when they come out to buy in stores. And Deadpool, it waited basically 3 months, so that's pretty amazing. So let me talk a little bit about Deadpool as far as what I knew about Deadpool before this movie came out. I was only vaguely aware of the fact that this character existed for the longest time. I knew that he was in the Marvel Universe. I didn't know, but I looked it up earlier today. He debuted in 1991, so he is a much younger comic book character than a lot of these other ones like Spider-Man and Batman and Superman and X-Men and all that. He's only been around for basically 25 years at this point. I know that a couple years back that X-Men Origins Wolverine movie included Deadpool, and that it was not a very accurate depiction, not a very faithful depiction of the Deadpool character when compared to the majority of Deadpool's life in the comics. And that Ryan Reynolds depicted him in that movie and then was able to come back and do this movie as well, which is pretty cool because Ryan Reynolds apparently had a connection with the character and felt like he needed to, especially after the Wolverine movie, that he kind of needed to do Deadpool right. He campaigned really, really hard and helped, I think, to produce and maybe even fund the making of this movie. So, and then I know Deadpool from the video game that came out a few years ago. I saw it played on YouTube, and so I got a gist of what that game was about. And I feel like, for myself, that's where the majority of my Deadpool knowledge comes from. So, how did the movie compare to what little I did know about Deadpool? Well, I think it did a really, really good job. It only seemed to gloss over a couple of little things, but for the most part, this was the merc with the mouth. This was filled with one-liners. It was, it was not gory, but it was violent. It was bloody at times. It was crude and lewd, and it was filled with language. There's a strip scene, like a strip club scene in the movie, so there's boobs. It's R-rated, and it earns its R rating. It's not meant for kids. But overall, I thought it was a pretty enjoyable movie. I liked it where I could, since I don't really have a whole lot to say about how awesome it is, as far as holding up to the Deadpool comic books, what I can say is that the few things that didn't measure up, in my opinion, were, for one, I know that in quite a few of the comics and in the video game, Deadpool had these inner monologues or possibly even multiple personalities that he would communicate with. In the video game, it's played up very, very well. The video game has a lot of him dealing with these inner voices. The movie never once touched on that, at least not that I recall. He never struggled with this part of him that seemed to be in some ways working against him. It told a really interesting origin story and had a really cool love story. Well, I can't complain with Morena Baccarin playing that character in the movie. How could I complain? She was one of my favorite characters, or my favorite actresses playing one of my favorite characters in Firefly, and then she was back as the girlfriend of Wade Wilson in this movie. So, the fact that they didn't include this voices thing was just, I guess it was just weird to me because that was what I consider to be a big part of who that character was. The other thing that maybe was a little weird was I knew it was going to be one-liners and jokes, and it was going to be crude, and it was going to be funny and all that. What I didn't expect it to do was to play up the emotional parts of it, build it up, and then in a lot of movies like this, they'll have a moment where it's like, okay, it's serious time, but then it's like it caps with some sort of a joke, sort of a punchline, and then you're just sort of like, ha ha, whatever. But in this movie, a lot of times it would still be building that dramatic crescendo, and it would drop those jokes in, but it would continue to roll with emotions and feels and drama. And that was weird. It didn't feel natural to me to do it like that. But it didn't ruin the movie or anything like that. I just feel like it's something that, if you're in tune with those kinds of things, if you're in tune with how movies, whether they be comedies or dramas or mixes of different genres, you know the pacing and the beats in those kind of movies. And this one throws some of those things for a loop, but not in a way that detracts from the movie overall, at least not in my opinion. So, whereas I was unfortunately buying a little too much into the hype, and I was hoping for like a 10 out of 10 kind of movie, basically I guess I walked away with like an 8 out of 10 movie. And that's not bad. That's not bad at all. And I love the way that they included some of the X-Men characters in it without having X-Men. I love the way that they had all kinds of little in-jokes and little nods and anything from like Hugh Jackman's face on a magazine cover or on Deadpool's face himself when the mask is taken off. The throwbacks to Green Lantern, the poorly received movie that Ryan Reynolds did, the last superhero movie that he did, and just like all kinds of stuff, talking about the X-Men characters and even having some sly references to the MCU, as in Disney's version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was really, really well done. It was great. It was fan service in a lot of ways, sure. It was funny, but it was also heartfelt. It was also dramatic. And while a few things could have been improved, overall I was really glad to have seen it. And I hope that they are able to continue Deadpool. I hope that they can do another Deadpool movie, but I would also love to see Deadpool be worked into like X-Men or something like that, because this movie was done by Fox, and Fox does the X-Men series, so it'd be awesome if at some point they could kind of cross over a little bit. Whether that'll happen remains to be seen, but we can hope. So, I recommend Deadpool. I think it was really, really good. Obviously not for kids, and not for people who don't like a lot of language, a lot of violence, a lot of skin and whatnot. But otherwise, yeah, definitely check it out. So thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.